Enron, not speaking.
Hey, Les, Jim Burkle.
Hi.
How's it going?
It's going just peachy.
Hey, good. I'm here at Harbor Code, Jen.
Okay.
And I just got a couple...
They're really pissed off at me, right?
Are they?
I don't know.
No, actually, I mean, the feedback I got was...
They didn't hang you?
Was very good.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they're quite happy. I mean, I was probing them to try to find if there's any issues.
Right.
And they said, well, weekends are a little rocky, and I said, yeah, we recognize that, and we're getting that sorted out. Just in terms of the information.
Right.
But other than that, no, they're really happy. They mentioned you specifically a couple times. Les is real
Worthless
good.
SOB.
No, actually, I'm serious.
Well,
they did.
good.
The guys I talked to, and then they also meant the one guy that I just spoke to said, is Jesse one of the really smart guys over there? And I said, well, I don't know Jesse that well. Why? Well, he every time he calls, or we call him, he knows exactly what's going on. So, yeah.
He's, definitely one of the good guys.
Yeah, so Jesse's got a pretty good reputation here for having the answers. I wanted to ask you a question. One of the questions that's going on here, and I guess you and Chris have opposite views maybe, but I want to understand the issue, is on the supplemental market.
Uh-huh.
You bid that in what, hour ahead?
That's correct.
Okay, so that's hour ahead. So say a day ahead we got awarded 50.
Mm-hmm.
And so you also put in a day ahead for spin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't get it.
Right.
And so then what you're doing is an hour ahead, you're putting in 25 on supplementals.
Right, exactly.
Okay, and do you bid in, is it like spin? Do you bid in a capacity and...
No, supplemental energy, you have to have it in by quarter after the hour for, right now, I'm looking at the clock, it's like 12 to 1500, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we're ramping it into the hour ending 1600 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Say it one more time, I was writing down.
Okay, we're ramping into hour ending 1600 right now, and in 11 minutes, it'll across the top will be in hour ending 16.
That's right.
Okay, we have 15 minutes. You have till quarter after the hour to bid in supplemental energy bids.
Mm-hmm.
So we have till 15:15 to bid in supplemental energy for the 1700 hour ending 1700
so you
hour.
got to be 45 minutes ahead of the hour.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, where Chris and I disagree, and that's absolutely correct, we disagree, is that Chris says that you can run uninstructed, and then just if you get dispatched for supplemental, fine, you're already there, life's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's what Chris, letter of the law, that's a gray area, and yeah, you could probably do that until 10-minute settlements come along.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's a bad practice. One, it sets a bad precedent that they can do that, and two, it's a gray area that they're getting away with probably.
Okay, so it's similar to that other scheme we were running where you've been awarded spin. And so if you've got the ability, you run full out, and then if you get exercise, you ramp down and then ramp back up.
Yeah,
it's that sort of same deal.
It's that sort of same deal, and the ramp up and down and spin, I think, is a very bad idea too.
Yeah.
Because the ISO is going to read your meter, and they're going to say, well, you're already at full load. Okay, you ramp down and ramp back up.
Right.
And they're going to say, gaming.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really a dangerous political situation right now.
I totally agree.
So,
I told those guys here, that the practice that we're not.
Right.
Okay, so I guess the question is so you just put in an energy payment and you just either get exercised or not on supplemental. So it's just like it's similar to day ahead PX, right?
Right. We're think about it as a trading commodity. We are giving the ISO a call option that we submit an energy price. What I always do with Harbor, and I need to change this now, is $70 is what I used as their cost basis.
Mm-hmm.
But that's up now, I guess like 93.
Yeah.
So I would put that a $93 cost basis in and saying, okay, we are willing to give you 25 megawatts South Path 15 at $93.
Right.
That's the price of the call option.
Yep.
Now, if they exercise us and say, yeah, we want your energy, the minimum we can get for the energy is $93.
Okay.
That's our price floor.
Yep.
Likewise, but we are in the market. We're at $93. We'll get that's the minimum, or we'll get the simple average of the 10-minute incremental beeps for the hour.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, there's 6 increments.
Yep.
You just take whatever the average is.
You get the ink.
You get the ink price. Well, whichever's higher is what you receive for your energy on supplementals.
Okay.
Now, I also do the same thing on decrementals when they're awarded light load. If they're awarded 75 megs light load, I deck them by 25 megs, and I use that at the same exact cost structure, only backwards. I say if it's less than $93, I agree to, I'll back off 25 megs and let the ISO fill my 25 megawatt schedule at X Post, which is going to be cheaper. Now, in that case, we get the simple average of the decremental price for subs. So.
Okay. Well, I get it. So the fundamental difference is that Chris thinks you can if you're not getting exercise or awarded, or whichever, what do you call it, exercise? If you're not getting exercise for your supplemental,
right.
Chris says, yeah, you can go up and run in the X Post, and you think it's probably a bad practice to do that.
I definitely think it's a bad practice, but
okay.
That's legally, Chris is correct.
Yeah.
That right now it's a gray area, but I think he can get away with it. But I think that it's the ISO's taking a very dim view of uninstructed deviations, and I think it's going to end up biting people that do that, and so that's my opinion.
Okay.
So
I guess what I got to figure out is I got to talk to Chris and sort of figure out what our company line is going to be to these guys, whether we condone it or not, or whether we're going to say, hey, you technically we think you can do it, and if you want to do it, go ahead, but we're not condoning it, sort of thing, because they're a little confused.
Right, and they are absolutely correct. Chris and I disagree on that, and and I disagree. So I mean, it's just
no, it's two different views. I mean, it's not obviously all the ISO rules and regs aren't clear cut as to what you can do, and then after that, what's really ethical to do.
Right.
What meets the intent of what they're trying to do.
Right.
Just because you can get through a little loophole doesn't mean you should.
Well, and specifically with what's going on now, I think the ISO is going to be under a lot of political pressure to scrutinize very closely what's going on.
Gaining opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Trying to double collect for, I can see the headlines now, Enron sponsored plant, found, that they were doing this or that or, what else. I mean,
right. So really, by your standards, then it should. The fundamental question is then, because these guys keep seeing X Post prices high, but they're not being exercised for some reason.
Right. Well, then the other game to play, then is be really aggressive with their unit, and at the tie points, I've done a lot of business for people who are just horribly aggressive. They'll say, okay, on supplementals you're allowed to bid minus $500 to $500. Okay. Now I've done a lot of business with people back when the cap was $750 that said I want to be bid in at minus $750. In other words, I'm a price taker all the way down to paying you astronomical prices for energy.
Right.
Now that is a game.
A dangerous one, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's because when you do that, then again, you're a price taker. Whatever the simple average of the incremental price, clears that. Now, if Harbor really wants to be exercised, that's a game I would suggest down to like $0 or $1 or a penny or something like that as an in-zone generator. Now, again, there we're being real aggressive with their megawatts, and it's like, okay, at that point, then if you end up getting $0 for your energy, who takes the hit?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's got to be laid out very clearly to them what the risks are doing.
Right.
Why wouldn't we be getting exercised if we had a $90 price and the X Post is running at $500 or where $250?
Somebody undercut you bid-wise. The ISO doesn't need the energy in South Path in that particular zone. Most likely you got undercut by somebody else. I mean, you've got Duke Energy and Dynegy just down the road, right? And they're sitting there going, okay, yeah, I'll sell for $1 or I'll sell for $0 or, it's a competitive auction also. I mean, the ISO is going to dispatch, when they start going through the sub-stack, they go first with the minus 500s, then work their way up. And where you get $0 prices is if they start through the minus 500 stack and never get beyond that, then you get a $0 price. So it's it's a combination of things. Most likely the bid price. Dynegy or somebody else in South Path has got 500 megs at they're offering at zero price just to get exercised, and they're on a day like today they're sure the price is going to be $250 on the ink side, so they're willing to take that risk.
Right.
That's one and most likely scenario. The ISO, the other one is again back to price. The ISO needs 600 megs South Path. The first guy they come to has 400 megs at $75, so they buy that. Next guy they come to has 100 megs at $80, so they pick him up. Then they don't need any more.
Yeah.
And again, that goes back to the auction.
Right.
So.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess is Chris gone on vacation for a while? Is that what's
going on? He's gone till he's out all next week, and the following Wednesday, I believe he's out of here. So.
Jeez, who authorized that?
Pretty sweet deal, huh?
I didn't see that approval request come across my desk.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Okay, that's some good info. So I think what I need to do is, I guess Chris is answering his message machine, so I'll leave a message for him and just sort of try to come back to these guys with sort of a, this is our view. Some people think it's all right, other people think it's not. It's sort of your call. Or I just want to talk to Chris and sort of hit him with one view. So.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I was on the phone and telling him, I was on with
Tom
and Ron, and
Mm-hmm.
I gave him my view that it's a bad
bad practice.
You shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And then Chris got on, and contradicted me quite effectively, and I'm going like, well, that's one version of it. I don't agree with that version.
Okay.
I didn't tell the customer that, but
yeah.
that's
that's a fair enough thing, and that's actually what I'm going to go tell him right now. Is we've got sort of two different views, and here's sort of the issue, and we're going to come back with you with a single unified, what a real position is,
right?
And because it's not clear, it's a loophole.
But
that technically you could get through, but some people feel it's against the intent of the ISO regs and questionable practice.
And especially right now with the scrutiny that is going on, I would really be scared of doing it, just because there's going to be a lot. They're going to be looking for a scapegoat, and they're going to be looking to hang somebody for all the things that didn't go well. So.
Yeah, right. People taking advantage of the system.
Oh yeah, it's like, okay, we need to find an Enron or an evil marketer that is doing all this nonsense to our system and causing high prices and instability.
Yeah, no,
all the rhetoric.
I think that's a good explanation of what's going on.
So
I'm trying to think of assume we take your line and say we think it's a bad practice and they agree. So what's our strategy going forward if we think that's the view? Do we stop bidding supplemental if we're never getting awarded an exercise, or are we getting awarded?
Well, I think we've been getting awarded right along. Today we had a real choppy schedule for today. We had some ancillaries that were in there, and then we also had some supplementals to fill in the missing teeth in the schedule. I think the thing to do is get aggressive on the supplementals. If we think, Monday is going to be a good example. I think it's going to be really hot. Today's stage 2 emergency. I think let's get aggressive on the pricing. Are we willing to throw a $50 bid out there on a supplemental? Are we 25 or 75 or at $93? That's a tough unit to move unless they're screaming for power like they are now in stage 2.
And then the other if we don't bid supplementals is just to let them run uninstructed.
Right.
Without a supplemental bid.
Now, in that case, the ISO hates that because that's what you see is the frequency excursion. That's why they're going to 10-minute settlements and all that kind of stuff. But if you don't have a supplemental in it, then I have a lot less problem running uninstructed.
I gotcha.
But if you want to do one and not the other, that's fine. But again, then you're exposed to whatever X post is. You don't have that price floor.
Right.
So.
Yep, that's right. Okay, well, I'll just lay it out to them and sort of, tell them that, it's one of these gray areas. Back with a recommendation, but we got two guys who understand the market very well, and they've got a different opinion on what it means to do that. So
I think that's fair, and I think they'll understand that.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Let me see if I get anything else you could ask. There's this 10% or 10 megawatts, whichever is greater, tolerance.
Right. That's what they...
To run, I guess that's uninstructed deviation.
During an emergency, right.
During an emergency. What is that? Is it 10% based on what? Your sort of... Pre-scheduled amount.
Right.
So if you pre-scheduled 50 with the PX, then...
That'd be 5 plus or minus.
In the X post.
Well, if you schedule 50 with whoever, and your band then, if they're in emergency, is 5 megs, either way. If you do 80, of course it's 8, plus or minus.
Right.
And the ISO is saying we need that in place to prevent the frequency excursions we've seen and such with, Harbor's a small enough unit, it probably doesn't cause them a whole lot of problem, but you got guys out there with 500 megawatt units chasing the next post.
Yeah.
Now you try to run a transmission system with this 500 megawatt unit going up and down all over the place.
Basically, you're saying that big units don't run uninstructed.
I think to some extent they do. I think Dynegy, and I keep picking on Dynegy, Southern, Williams.
Those are the big ones, yeah.
Yeah, I guarantee that they don't sell all their stuff in the day-ahead market, and they, run up and down chasing the next post. I know for a fact Duke does it. Because I've been on the phone with their guys before, and they're saying, "Well, I'm chasing X post. I'm running my unit up, running it down."
Okay, so the bottom line is if they so give me the scenario. So they awarded 50 day ahead, and it's only an emergency. So if they run greater than 55 uninstructed, if they run greater than 55, and so 5 of it's uninstructed, or I guess they got 10 megawatts. Right?
Well, if they're not in an emergency, they're good to go. I mean, they can run. I'm putting, Tom told me last night, or Ron, I guess it was, told me today the units are actually good for 80 megs. So I'm going to go ahead, and we didn't get anything awarded ancillary service for tomorrow, excuse me. Now we did get a decent award in the day ahead where we got 50 megs, 11 through 22 at some pretty decent prices. So my thought is just to bid in the additional 30 in the supplemental market and do that. Now, I'm going to do that as a batch right now. If they don't want to do that and just go expos for those, we need to know that.
Yeah, let me talk to them. Okay, so on this, it's 10% or 10 megawatts, whichever is greater, right?
Now, I didn't know about the 10 megawatt language, but that could be.
I thought that.
I remember reading the 10%.
Okay.
So I'd have to look at that again.
It only applies during a stage emergency.
That's right.
It's based on the 10% is based on your day ahead scheduled quantity.
Or your schedule. I mean, it could be an hour ahead schedule too. If you agree to sell 50 megawatts to Williams, in the hour ahead market, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have a problem with that.
Okay,
as long
it's not
as
based
scheduled.
on nameplate. It's based on what you've actually pre-scheduled.
Right.
Okay.
That's the way I understand it, but I'd have to review that to be absolutely lift my hand and swear to it. So.
Yeah, I'll I think that's it. The other things that they were interested in seeing on a daily basis was sort of that break-even stuff that I was sending out for a while, what the break-even costs are.
Okay.
And I can work with you on.
We need to get something a little bit better because I'm just ball guessing, and then on this little simple sheet I'm sending out, just pretty much what they got awarded.
I'll show you how to. Greg probably hasn't had time to integrate, the model that I build for you into,
not
stuff, and so, I can show you how to just work it. And it's very simple. And put it out. I mean, I kind of pull myself out of the day-to-day sending of stuff because they're calling me, and then it was me, you, Chris, in real time, and they're calling 8 guys, getting 8 different answers. So I'm trying to pull myself out of the day-to-day stuff so I don't confuse and contradict what you guys are saying. But Monday we'll work on getting that done. But that's it. Otherwise, they're very happy from what I can tell in talking to them and talking to you guys. The Black Hills, the 70% owners, asset managers here, he's quite happy with the agreement. He said 5%, and he thinks, in his opinion, it's more than fair. It's the mission guy who's got some concerns about how much we're making. He sort of always looks at what the other guy's making rather than how much he's making.
Right.
But the index guy or the Black Hills guy is like, hey, you know what? You make $1 million in a month. That means we made 20. And I'm. That's the way I look at it. And he goes, we we want the contract like that. So.
Oh, that's an incentive for us to
Yeah.
step on this thing as much as we can.
Absolutely. So, okay.
Sounds
Well, good. So pass on the good word if there's anybody to pass it on to, and I will. I'll come back Monday and we'll message actually for Chris right now. Can you transfer me to his extension, or should I just call back?
Yeah, I can do it, but I just got to figure out what his extension is.
3822.
3822. Okay. Yeah, hold on.
All right. Let's have a good one.
You bet.